Okay, so this is our second example for solving with a square root. This one's a little different. You'll notice that in here we have a plus 5. Our previous example was just x squared. So what we need to do is we need to think of this as the piece that we're solving for. So we're going to get rid of everything or get everything away from this. So in order to do that, we're going to divide both sides by 64. And as you can see, we're going to try this without a calculator. So the 64's cancel out. And the reason I'm thinking let's try this without a calculator is we see the 64 on the bottom. We know that that's a perfect square. You may not be so sure about that 289. Okay? So what possibly is the square root of 289? So if you think about it, well, 25 squared, we should know is, or not 25 squared, I'm sorry, 15 squared is 225. So it's got to be a little bit more than that. Well, think about 15 squared times 15. This is going to be a 5, right? 16 times 16, the 6 times 6 is going to give us a 6. And if we do 17 times 17, that's going to be 9. I wonder if this guy is the square root of this is 17. Well, if we finish the little math that I'm doing over here, we'd carry the 4. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 4 is 11. And look what I get, 289. Okay? So the trick is, well, it ends in a 9. Well, that would have to be a 7 at the end. And so that's a little trick to not necessarily know exactly what it is, but know approximately. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and finish this problem. And now that we have the square isolated, it's in parentheses, so I'm going to go ahead and take the square root of this, which means I'm going to take the square root of all of that. And our property told us that if I have a whole fraction, don't forget the plus or minus, if I have a whole fraction underneath the square root, I can just take the square root of the top and the bottom. So I do that, and I get x plus 5 is equal to plus or minus 17 over 8. So now we're actually going to go ahead and do this without a calculator. We're going to work with these fractions. So I'm going to move this up a little bit, and we have x plus 5 is equal to 17 over 8, or x plus 5 is equal to a negative 17 over 8. Okay, so I need to subtract 5 from both sides. Well, in order to add or subtract fractions, we need to get a common denominator. So in order to get a common denominator, I need to multiply both the top and the bottom by 8. And that's going to give me 40, and that's going to give me 8. So 17 minus 40 is going to be a negative 23 over 8. That's one of my solutions. Now we're going to do the other one. So I'm going to subtract 5 and subtract 5. It's the same number, so whatever we got here is our common denominator is going to be the same thing on the other side. And that's going to give us a negative 57 over 8. And those are our exact values. Okay, so that was our second example for solving with the square root. And remember, the difference is we had this x plus 5 in parentheses. So if I move back up here, I know we're seeing a little bit of double writing. But what I want to point out is this right here. We solved this whole thing. So we're going to take get everything away from here and take the square root and then work with the 5 on the inside.